on this journey my whole life because it started with my name, Talitha Cumi, which literally means little girl, wake up. And I can't say it's been easy. There's been a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. But I believe life is all in your decision making. The I Am Talitha Cumi show is a combination of things that I love to talk about. And I want to enlighten you, encourage you, and inspire you to be the best you can be with some help from my guest. Let's talk about it.
And we are live here at the Botham Jean Foundation Gala event, you guys.
I feel like there are so many people, like you said, that are in pain from stress or whatever it is, and we're going to the doctor. They're giving us this medication. This medication sometimes is making us worse. Sometimes the medication is not working. Sometimes the medication has so many side effects.
So is there anything that I left?
No, other than my name is pronounced Georgia Nay.
Georgia, I was pronouncing that all wrong. Georgia Nay. My bad. I hate when people pronounce my name wrong too.
Talitha Cumi.
Hey y'all, hey, welcome to the I Am Talitha Cumi show on Vegas Hype Media. Thanks for joining us, and remember you can catch us here every Friday night at 7:30 p.m. on our Food for the Soul Media Group FB page and YouTube station, also on Vegas Hype Media's FB page and YouTube station, and the Mixler app for those of you who may just want to listen to us live. Shout out to Quan on the ones and twos, keeping us looking and sounding right. Also, I got to shout out my baby Big Bobby B, who is live in our chat room right now. And also, you guys, sending prayers up to my baby and our family. Got some harsh news, and we're just kind of working through it, so prayers for him. But as always, I am talking to my guest about some stuff that you may just want to know about. And my disclaimer, as always, these are my opinions, not fact, just my opinions. And some of the opinions of our guests are not always the opinions of the I Am Talitha Cumi show, Food for the Soul Media Group, or Vegas Hype Media. And if you want to weigh in, leave us a comment in the chat room, on the YouTube or FB page. Please, you guys, if you guys are on YouTube, if you're on our YouTube station right now, if you're on the YouTube station right now in Vegas Hype Media, go to our Food for the Soul Media Group channel and hit that subscribe button for me. And if you're on our Facebook, please follow me and like my page and share it. And also go to my Instagram and follow me at Food for the Soul Media Group and I am Talitha _Cumi. Are you a barber or hairstylist? Do you want to get crisp lines after cuts? Do you want to have some great protection for your hair units and weaves? Give Crisp products a try. Go to www.crispproducts.com by Mook the Barber. So you guys, we're looking for sponsors and donors to help keep our show a priority in bringing you great news, good discussion, and great guests, and we need you. So promote your business with us and or sponsor us, and you can do that by going to our email, foodforthesoulpresents@gmail.com. So hit us up and let us know how you want to be a part, okay? And so today we are discussing when you don't know you. And our theme for this month is actually knowledge is power. Last week we decided to do a clips show, so I was just doing clips from some of the shows that I enjoyed this past 6 months, I guess. And now we're going to get into knowledge is power. So I'm going to be talking to some of my guests about some things that we need to know about, and some of us just don't know about it. And so my guest coming up is Dinisha Mingo. Dinisha is a Las Vegas native. She completed her undergraduate studies in Portland, Oregon, and earned her master's in educational psychology from UNLV. She has worked as a behavioral and rehabilitation specialist since 2011, providing outpatient services to children and adults with mental health diagnosis. Her experience includes working with diverse ages, ethnicities, and genders. Dinisha advocates for cultural competency in treatment and speaks conversational Spanish. She worked as a treatment coordinator and director of other agencies until beginning her own. She is the CEO and director of MHS Behavioral Services. She opened MHS due to wanting to provide quality mental health services to a high needs population by teaching, setting, and expecting a standard of excellence in mental health care through provider quality, compassion, education, and experience. Dinisha is the current chairperson of Solutions of Change, a nonprofit which advocates, supports, and helps those with mental health diagnosis. Dinisha believes it's important to facilitate open, solution oriented dialogue about mental and behavioral health in the Las Vegas community so those dealing with such stressors are not stigmatized but they get the proper help. Dinisha and MHS continue to build community partners and support initiatives for the advancement of people and families through education, spirituality, health, arts, and community service as it relates to mental and behavioral health. Dinisha believes in living a life of service, which is the most effective way to be the change and help free the mind of the mental health. Welcome to the show, Dinisha. Gosh, that was a lot. You do a lot. So my first question to you is, I need to know. I needed you to know that when I saw you, you were such an awesome, an honest speaker at the Bold. Your Bold is Beautiful, the conference last year, and I remembered you, and I knew that I wanted you on my show. I knew that I wanted you to talk about this issue and kind of give your expertise. But my first question to you is, why mental health? So can you give us a little bit of your backstory? Why did you choose the field?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me. That was a lot. So you know what? If you would have asked me this a couple of years ago, I actually was en route to going to law school. I went to high school at ATEC, Advanced Technologies Academy, did law-related education. I did major in psychology in undergrad because I was interested in it, but I had my mind made up that I was going to law school. I had worked at a law firm for a year, and I was en route to applying to UNLV's law program, but then they had a program for a dual degree. And in order for me to do that dual degree where I would get my law degree with my PhD in educational psychology, I had to do the master's in educational psychology. And in my first class in that master's, someone introduced me to behavioral health, and I just fell in love with it, and I never left. I started working in a day treatment setting, working with children, of all ages. And then I started doing more of the in-home services and in the community. Then I began working with adults and, quickly moved my way up, as you said, and I just never left. But the truth is, I know that I was destined for this. Mental health, or mental illness rather, is something that has plagued my family by way of schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, addiction, generationally. And I myself have struggled with mental health challenges. So I think, my younger years, I didn't present as probably like a diagnosable issue, but I definitely have experienced symptoms of it. And so I would not have said that, oh yeah, there's something that I need help with. I just wanted to help others. But I can look back now and say, like, this has been all around me. I was called to it, growing up. I was a person that everybody, adults and my friends and peers alike, would talk to. And so it's just been a very purposeful and just unfolding in its own way kind of journey. And I love it. One thing I always say is I've been blessed to do what I love to do since I was 22. And not many people can say that it has evolved in how it looks. But I know that I'm built for this.
And so with your wanting to be in law school, how did this change fulfill that want of law? Are there any similarities, or is it just the advocacy part of it that you love? What?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. So I was big on like doing the right thing and justice and advocacy. And then I got really interested in serial killers. Honestly, I was like, what is happening in these people's minds that they would do these very heinous things to people? So I think that's kind of what led me more into psychology, that I'm like, why do people commit crimes, and then specifically these kinds of crimes? And then I did realize probably about 4 or 5 years ago, like, oh, that is what I loved. It was the justices, the advocacy, and I get to be an advocate, for others. And that's for many years why I did not pursue licensure as an actual clinician, because I'm like, I get to be on the front line. I get to be out here. I'm not bound by the same ethics as others are. And while people are in the therapy room doing the work, a lot of times that barrier or that gap is that someone isn't out there talking about it. So it's not just talking about it and creating awareness, but I've gone to IEP meetings, I've gone to court dates, I've talked to landlords, people who might take advantage of people who suffer from mental health issues and either can't articulate or don't have the energy or motivation or just feel just overwhelmed. I have had that opportunity personally, on one-on-one with clients, but as well, more publicly, like at the legislative, to be an advocate for some of the needs. And so I think that advocacy component is definitely what fills my cup.
So you have been able to use that law side of you to be able to fight for those people that need it. So that's dope. With mental illness, since it's been such a big topic over the years, with a lot of talk about it affecting crime, like you were talking about, school shootings, suicide, divorce, and more. My question is, do you think that all of these things can be attributed to some type of mental health?
I think it's definitely an individualized thing. So in a blanketed answer, like, of course, we can say that a person's divorce might be attributed to mental health. We can say someone shooting up a school might be attributed to it. A crime that's committed could be attributed to it. But there are also aspects that cannot be attributed to it. Like, people can get a divorce and it has nothing to do with mental health issues. So, I try to be very careful because I know that people listen, and when you have influence or in a certain level, you want to be careful. But I am pretty old school. Now, I'm progressive in a lot of ways. I believe in being compassionate and sensitive, but environment plays a huge part. Whether that's impacting your mental health or if it's just training and boundaries and expectations. So I think that's a blanketed question. And so parts of it, yes, but not always. There can be so many other factors that contribute to a person's behaviors and actions.
Well, let's talk about the school shootings specifically, because a lot of times I know we always hear on the news that when someone shoots up a school, for the most part, if they don't end up dying themselves during the school shooting, they attribute it to mental health issues. So do you believe that the mental health is that strong that it calls for them to do that, like a serial killer?
Yeah, I think that if you are at a point where you don't have a conscience and don't have a regard for other human life, then there is something off. Because as humans, we are created to be in community. We are created to care about others, depending on how we're nurtured. But like that, I believe, is, an innate part of humanity. And so when something has happened in a person's life, just like a serial killer, where perhaps they weren't nurtured or they were abused and there were just a lot of things missing, especially in those formative years, that breaks their ability to have empathy and care about others. And it's not just serial killers, like we see that in other personality disorders. Then yes, there is something going on mentally. There is a mental disorder. That being said, it does not mean that there should not be consequences to that action. Because a person who will commit something like that is disturbed and is a risk and a danger to society. And so that's where we might say we understand this is a contributing factor, but because of how high this risk factor is, there still needs to be some protections put in place for society, because unfortunately, typically people who have those type of mental health disorders, it is very difficult for them to be rehabilitated, if at all. And the truth is, research shows that if you have sociopathic personality disorders, or antisocial personality disorder rather, that there's no treatment, there is no cure.
Okay. And so then they are justified in saying, like, whenever, I know a lot of times people get upset and they get frustrated when these kids or these people go in and shoot up schools, but they are justified in saying that anybody who does not care for human life, there has to be a mental health component behind it, because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and sometimes we just don't understand things. So I think that is the majority of it. I do personally believe, and this is not necessarily based on research, that there are some people that are evil.
Yes.
I do believe that sometimes there are circumstances. I mean, even when it comes to, for example, suicide or hurting somebody else, it's still a mental health issue, but sometimes it's really circumstantial, where a person might make a decision in the heat of the moment
Yes.
that they may have regretted. But yet still, that still needs to be dealt with. And so we might not know the etiology and the history of that person. And that's why it's taken on a case by case basis. But ultimately, I believe if you don't have a regard for human life, there is something mentally wrong with you, clearly,
Yes.
or mentally not right.
Right.
And that needs to be, we can name it and still consequence it.
Absolutely. I can agree with that. How does knowing about a person's mental health status history help in relationships? What would you say about that?
Well, it helps you to know how to manage them if you're choosing to stay in that relationship. I think knowing a person's mental health status, first of all, gives you the choice. Do you want to be in relationship with that person? And we're not just talking about romantic relationships. Sometimes we're talking about family relationships or friendships, because we all have a choice to say, do I have the capacity to engage in a relationship that's going to be healthy for myself and healthy for the other person, supportive for the other person? So that's one way that that's important. Another thing is, if you are going to be in a relationship with that person, then if you can educate yourself on warning signs of when they might be triggered, how they might respond, then you could probably learn some ways to help them de-escalate. And it doesn't mean that you're doing the de-escalation, but maybe reminding them of tools, or saying, maybe right now, let's call you therapist. I'm noticing that this is happening. And also exhibiting patience and maybe not prejudging. I think a lot of times when we are in relationships with other people and they do things that don't make sense to us or that hurt us, again, it doesn't mean that you have to tolerate it, but it helps us to have a greater understanding that sometimes maybe things that people say or things that they do is not personal. We're all human, and we might feel attacked or not okay with something, but it's like, I know that your mental health might be contributing. We're not going to blame it all on it. I'm one of them folks that's like, what we're not going to do is blame everything on mental health or mental illness. But if a person does have a diagnosable mental health condition, then it helps you have a better understanding of what might be going on with them so that you can respond appropriately.
Okay.
And get them access to resources, right?
Right. Has there been any studies that you have seen that where maybe mental health has been the cause of problems in a relationship and people didn't know it? Like, for instance, I'm in a relationship with someone. I don't know that they have a mental health issue. Maybe they don't even know they have a mental health issue. And then it causes us to break up, or we're married and it causes us to divorce. Have you seen a lot of statistics like that?
You know, I'm not versed on the statistics specifically about like mental health issues impacting relationships statistically, but I know it personally, right? And again, when we think of mental health, I think because we've been talking about it, we definitely think of the schizophrenia, the depression, the bipolar, but we forget substance use.
Okay.
And that is a mental health disorder. And I think that is very commonly seen where it impacts, relationships and breaks up families. Gambling addiction, right? People divorce over that, and money and misuse of it. And then I know people who definitely have been like, I can't. And then, there's a lot of comorbidity, especially when I say comorbidity, meaning with substance use, there's typically going to be some other diagnosis along with it. And it can be difficult to understand like a person's depression, or why they might not be emotionally available, or why they might not be motivated. But I'm not keen on the actual statistics in terms of the breakdown of relationships, but just personally, I see it pretty frequently.
Okay. Well, this is a big question for you. I want to know, how does a person even know if they struggle with a mental illness? Like, a lot of times we as family, or even the person with the struggle, just might kind of shrug it off as, this is just the way I am. How do they even know or begin to search out, maybe something's wrong here?
So, that's a really good question, because a lot of times when you're in it, right, and you're used to it, and it's chronic, it is difficult to say what feels like me or something is off. Typically, we would say if there's a change in behavior, if you notice that you're doing something different, if you're isolating, if you're having certain kind of thoughts that are typically negative, but that just seem unlike you, if you're not engaging in activities that you normally would engage in, these can all be indicators that you're struggling with a mental health issue. But if you have grown up in a chronic stress environment and you have had these behaviors, it might be really hard. And that is why being in community is so important. If you're a person who has difficulty establishing and maintaining relationships and healthy relationships, and you might not be able to decide if it's healthy or not,
Right.
again, if you have some toxicity, but if just relationships in general, I think that's an indicator that something might be off in your ability to connect, be vulnerable, be empathetic, right? I think, and then sometimes it is really hard for a person to recognize it for themselves. So that goes back to why community is so important. Because now somebody who knows me and who loves me can say, something is different about you, or something is, not okay. I'm here to help you. And you may not necessarily see the behavior, but you might notice, I haven't spoke to so-and-so in X amount of months, or they're flaking, they're not showing up. So that is why we shouldn't be alone, because other people can look out for us when we can't look out for ourselves.
Now, I've heard of Asperger's. Do you know, is Asperger's a form of mental illness or no?
Well, it is I would say no.
Okay.
It is more of a developmental disorder.
Okay, I just wondered.
It is in the DSM. Asperger's is going to be on your autism spectrum disorder, where it's really high functioning. And it does come with some lacking of social cues in abilities, but it's not a mental illness.
Okay.
And
okay, I just wondered about that. I just kind of threw that out there. So can depression be considered a mental illness, like if it doesn't go away? Because I know that there's kind of maybe situational depression, but can a person just be depressed all the doggone time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a disorder in the DSM with it for people who experience like persistent depression, and that's different than like your major depression, because your major depression usually is going to onset from a crisis. It's going to have a certain severity, intensity, and duration, and with treatment and stuff, it might subside, right? And I don't want to get into all that because I know we're talking to the lay audience, but there are some people who suffer from chronic depression. And in those instances, I kind of heard in one of your pre-shows, about medication. In those instances, sometimes medication is what might be helpful, or learning some coping skills. But it is, I don't want to say normal, but it's not uncommon for a person to struggle with, depression chronically. And then the other part of it is they might come in and come out of it. So they might have some weeks or months where, they seem to be functioning a little bit better, and it doesn't mean that it's like a manic or bipolar, but then they might slip back into it, like they're at great risk. But there are people who deal with that for a lifetime, unfortunately. And, they have supports in place to kind of help them manage it.
Okay. Well, this one is a hard question, and it might be a little off-putting, but I remember hearing that some mental illnesses like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder have been linked to demon possession, possibly. So have you ever heard that, or cases where doctors or therapists have ever dealt with that, like in real time? Like,
that is so funny. When I saw that question, I was like, whoa, I said, what? She got me all over the place. You just want me to address the whole. So let me just put out a disclaimer
while I got you on here, I just want to know what your thoughts are.
Listen, I'm going to show you something.
Okay.
This is our diagnostic statistic manual.
Oh, Lord. Okay, then.
This is our Bible for psychology.
Okay.
And so I know a lot of times when we don't know, we get to asking folks these questions. And that's why we have people who specialize in different things, because it's like, it's so, intense. It's so much. That being said, I am a person of faith. Okay. And one of the things that the programs we put on is Healing to Health, bringing the dialogue of mental health to the faith-based community, specifically to destigmatize people who are dealing with mental health disorders who have been told that it is a demon.
Okay.
And that is under Solutions of Change. We host it every July. We just had our conference, and I do want to make a correction. I'm not the chair of Solutions of Change.
Okay.
I was at one point, but I'm actually the founder.
Okay.
And it's a nonprofit that provides free counseling and therapy for those, free and low cost for those who cannot afford it, uninsured, underinsured, and undocumented. And so we really seek to break barriers in various communities, and our faith-based community is one of those communities specifically for questions like this. So to answer your question, the answer is yes. I know people who have spoken about those experiences. There is some research that talks about it, but the research tends to be biased because people come in and they say, okay, this person is having hallucinations or delusions, and usually it's going to be their priest or their pastor who has one lens, who just looks at it this way. But the psychologist, the mental health professional, is able to look and say, are these other symptoms present? Can we say that this is quote unquote a demon or something spiritual versus being a mental health issue?
Yes.
And so what I will say is I am a believer in deliverance. My mom stopped doing drugs. I'm talking crack, alcohol, and cigarettes cold turkey.
Okay.
Without treatment or anything. So that can be seen as a demon, right? As a spiritual, influence of addiction. So
absolutely,
make no mistakes. I believe in the power of prayer and deliverance in God. However, I do think it's important that we get tools. I do think it's important that we get professional help. And I do think it's important that we not limit something to only being able to be spiritual, because what it can do is be stigmatizing and make a person less likely. And then the litmus test is always, did it work, right?
Yes.
Medication doesn't always work for a person. And that could be because the diagnosis is wrong, the medication is wrong, or there's something else going on, right?
Okay.
And so if your prayer, your exorcism, your deliverance works, then hey, let's call the demon a spiritual coup. Are we good? You need some tools.
Yes.
And if it doesn't, let's put multiple supports in place and get professional help.
Right. And make sure that it is exactly what it is. My second to the last question for you before I let you go is, are there any tests that can be done at a young age to maybe help parents identify anything with their children to kind of be more proactive?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I would say is, go to your pediatrician to get a referral to a psychologist. Okay. You mentioned Asperger's. My for-profit, Mingo Health Solutions, we do services for kids who are on the autism spectrum. And that can be diagnosed as early as 1.5 to 2. But it does take a trained psychologist to know what these symptoms look like. And what they typically do, whether it's a neurological disorder, a developmental delay, something educational, and or behavioral disorders, they have various tests and batteries, whether that's for ADHD, other behavioral disorders, like I said, autism, Asperger's, and that psychologist will put together a series of testing based on the symptoms that the parents report to help figure out what might be going on with that child so they can give you the proper recommendation. So I could sit here and throw out ABLS and ADOS and, all the different tests, but it really wouldn't make sense. What I would say is, go to a pediatrician and or a psychologist and get a referral. But there are absolutely tests to detect different types of issues very early.
Okay. And so signs of any type of mental illness possibly can take place at that young age so that they can, okay, something is wrong with my baby. They're 1 or 2 years old and they want to go and get that checked out instead of just kind of letting it, just kind of hang around. And then by the time the kid is 10 or 12, now they're like, oh my gosh, I should have, checked this out when they were younger.
Yeah, it's going to depend on what the issue is. So I brought up Asperger's. That might be a little bit harder to detect earlier on because it is a higher functioning. But like autism, like I said, is diagnosed that early because it has that developmental component. So you're looking at speech, behaviors, how they're adjusting to the environment, if they're having types of sensory responses. So some of those are easier to detect a lot earlier. When we talk about having more behavioral mental health issues, you're going to see those begin to emerge around 4 or 5, usually at the earliest. And a lot of times we really don't like to put those labels on kids because developmentally, there's so many things happening in the brain and the environment, and we don't want to put those labels on them, but you might start seeing more of those types of behaviors around that age, right? Because now we're getting more verbal. Now they're able to engage more at school and other settings so that the behaviors can be more visible.
Okay.
And sometimes you won't see any of it. I know people who did not show any signs of developmental delays until they got to like middle school, because again, environment plays such a big role. So if you're triggered, or if you got taught this way and now you're in a classroom this way, and then all of a sudden, you're triggered. So it really is individual. We talk about like awareness and things like this just to make people open and say, I mean, I'm a believer in like instinct. The same way, when you ask, how does a person know? I do think deep down people know that something is not right with them.
Good.
I think they know that they don't feel at peace, but it might be hard to even admit that to yourself. And I think the same way, if you feel that something just doesn't seem right with your child, then just go ahead and seek professional support without shame. And you might have to go through a few different providers, a few different tests to actually identify what may be going on. But that's why we don't want to just feel ashamed about it, so that we do seek out the proper support. And then the research is constantly changing.
Okay.
So that's another thing. You come to professionals and you're like, I expect them to know X, Y, and Z, and we do, and we hope. But then the research changes, and it's possible that it could change. So just stay open, because it's an ever evolving field the more we learn about the mind.
Okay. Well, Dinisha, I want to thank you so much for coming on and letting us know about mental health and some of the things that we can do, some of the services that we can get. And so I want people to know, what services do you provide and how can we reach you?
Yeah, so I did mention Solutions of Change, the nonprofit. If you go to Solutions, SOLUTIONS, just like how it sounds, Solutions of Change.org. You can go and access our services, like I said, free and low-cost therapy, as well as family support and community support. We created that because we know a lot of times insurance doesn't cover it, or people can't afford their copays, and we don't want any barriers.
Okay.
Mingo Health Solutions, you can reach us at 702-848-1696, or go to www.mhsbs, like Boys and Behavioral Services, mhsbs.com. And we accept a variety of insurances. We have community health workers, and we do services in home and in clinic for children with autism. We got domestic violence, a whole bunch of other stuff that will not bore you with. And you can follow us on all social media platforms.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Talk to you soon. And when we come back, you guys, our special spotlight artist, it's Tymara, I believe, Walker, and I'm she's probably gonna kill me when she gets on here, because you know how I am with names. But we'll be right back in a second. I wanted to be able to honor my father's memory by doing a documentary about his life. And I was hoping to do the documentary when he was still here, but that wasn't the case, so I'm doing it now. I'm a writer and director. I've been writing and directing for over 30 years. I have my own production company. And when my mother passed in '95, I was trying to figure out a way to honor her memory, because she was just as much of a legend as my dad. And I decided to do a production about her life and about our family and what we went through when she had gotten diagnosed with cancer. And when my dad got diagnosed with cancer as well, I was hoping that the story wouldn't be the same, but it ended up being the same. And so I was trying to figure out how to honor his legacy. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to do the same thing that I did for my mom. So for him, I'm really going to try my hand at doing a documentary, because I love documentaries. And that's what I wanted to do for him. I love the realism in documentaries and the way that the filmmakers are able to capture real stories about real people, living their lives, whether it's a tragic documentary, whether it's a political documentary, whether it's a save the world or save the animals, whatever it is. Documentaries just they prick your heart a little bit different than any other form of film to me.
The Last Temptation by Talitha Cumi Burst. Take one.
Look, see we chilling now.
Right there.
Come on, Lady Courtney doing the flip. I got pictures of Daddy in here. I just gotta find them Jones. I gotta find them. I know I got pictures of Daddy. Look.
Isla Cole, originally from Kansas City, Missouri, residing in Las Vegas, Nevada.
I am Renee Bolden from Kansas City, Missouri.
I'm Ken Bell from Duarte, California.
I'm Marcus Bolden. The Last Temptation.
My name is Joseph Bolden, via from California and Dallas, Texas.
I'm Chris Davis from Dallas by way of Indianapolis.
My name is Jackie Lacey and I'm from Dallas, Texas.
My name is Bruce Hunter from Dallas, Texas.
I'm Charmaine Baycott from Dallas, Texas.
Hi, I'm Floyd Green from Dallas, Texas.
I'm Loretta Bolden. I'm from Houston, Texas.
Courtney Porter, Baby Boy.
Big Bobby B, this is The Last Temptation.
He chose us in him before the foundation of the world. And we've been called out from the world. And the reason why we've been called out from the world, because God wants us to reflect his image. Because in many cases, in some people, the only image of the Lord that they will see, they'll never go into the doors of a church. It's going to be you and I. It's going to be our lives. Amen?
And we are back. If you just joined us, you're tuned in to the I Am Talitha Cumi show by Food for the Soul Media Group with me, Talitha Cumi, live on FB and YouTube on Food for the Soul Media Group and Vegas Hype Media. So you guys, we have been promoting the Last Temptation documentary for a while now, and we would love your help. If you're looking to be a sponsor or donate to the Last Temptation documentary, which is a heartfelt documentary about my father and his legacy, email us, please, or inbox us. You can email us at birdscreates@gmail.com, or you can inbox us on our Food for the Soul FB page. I am trying to get that premiered this year, 2023, towards the end of the year. And so we are looking for sponsors and donations to help us make that a possibility. And also, I'm going to be entering the documentary in a couple of film festivals. So it's kind of putting little spurts of it out there. But I want to introduce my special spotlight artist of the evening, who has been waiting patiently. Originating from Ohio, Tymara, because I looked that up and I put that right so I can pronounce it right, is an artist, musician, singer, and songwriter making a noticeable impact in the music industry. Carving her own sound and style, this talented artist is quickly making waves in the scene with her unparalleled multi-genre sound of dance, house, pop, soul, and gospel. From the age of 2, Tymara started singing on the steps of her father's church, where her gift was recognized. Coupled with having a vocal teacher as a mother and being a classically trained pianist, she has evolved into a musical and vocal powerhouse. Her emotion-drenched lyricism and positivity, paired with powerful vocals, paints a beautiful melodic canvas that is rooted in experience. Moving to Las Vegas in 2011 placed her on a path of constant growth in the entertainment capital of the world. Tymara has worked as a musical director for living legend Gladys Knight, toured the world singing background for the iconic Chaka Khan. She's been cast in Cirque du Soleil. Is that Cirque du
Soleil?
Yeah, that part. She's been cast in that, the Michael Jackson show on the Vegas Strip. She's toured with them in Asia, in Kosa. Is that how you pronounce that? Kusa? Was a featured performer in the musical Heartbreak Hotel on the Las Vegas Strip, cast as the Queen of the Night at Mayfair Supper Club After Dark show at the Bellagio, various piano and vocal residencies in Las Vegas, and sung the national anthem at many professional sporting events. Truly, there are many more accolades to list, but I cannot list them all. Influenced by her life experiences and eagerness to keep growing, Tymara seeks to create music that will inspire listeners. Her emotion-drenched lyricism and positivity, paired with powerful vocals, paints a beautiful melodic canvas that is rooted in experience, dipping her feet in varying genres from dance, house, to pop, soul, gospel. Her style is diverse and unique, and it will take you on a journey. Whether she's giving a high-energy dance music show at an arena, stripped-down piano and vocal set, or supported by a band or orchestra, she is a wow. This Las Vegas-based artist is set to leave a lasting impact. And so I didn't get a chance because I saw this late, but Dinisha said that you guys are cool. That yes, that you and so that is cool that you guys were on the same show, and both of you guys have so many accolades that I could just go on and on. But I want to welcome you to the show, and I want to ask you just a couple of questions before you perform for us. So my first question is, how was it growing up singing in the church compared to what you're doing now and how you're singing now? Was there like a big difference? Did you go from choir to,
I don't want the saints to get mad at me.
Okay.
But I have to be honest.
Be honest.
So I grew up as a pastor's kid, which means two things. One, I was bad.
Okay.
I was, and I walk in that. And so when I was living at home as a child, on Sundays, we couldn't listen to anything but gospel. Like we could draw the line at Whitney Houston. And then when I became an adult, my first mainstream industry gig, I guess, I was singing background for J. Moss.
Okay.
So I was traveling with him and Fred Hammond and Marvin Sapp. To be really honest, now that I'm into every other genre but gospel on a mainstream level, I gotta say it's easier to do R&B and soul and pop and stuff than it is to be in the mainstream church arena.
Really?
Yeah, because I wore this on purpose. I have 19 tattoos.
Okay.
And I remember being a part of J. Moss performing at Greater Grace in Detroit for a Karen Clark Sheard concert. And it was 150 million degrees with 2,000% humidity. And they wanted me to wear a turtleneck.
Wow.
Get out of here. Like, no, I'm not going to do it. There were so many things that happened, so many different levels of controversial requirements. You know, one church requires this, somebody else requires this. I just want to be me, and it's a lot easier to do that outside of the
church.
And I'm sure that's changed now in 2023, but I'm good on finding out.
Yeah, well, it's the you said I'm good on finding out. I don't even want to know anymore. So you think that the perception or keeping up the image or the appearance was more important than the anointing or the singing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's like, I feel like I'm a lot better received now because I am an artist. I won't even say what genre it is because I will sing anything. If I like it, I'm going to sing it.
Okay.
But it's, if I do decide to sing a gospel song, whether it's on a stage or at my house or on TikTok, it feels like it's better received because I'm being me. There's nothing about me that somebody said I had to do or I had to change. You just get the bald head chick with the tattoos and I'm just going to sing the glory down, and that's it. So it's a lot easier to do that outside of trying to be a gospel artist for me.
Have you always had the bald head?
No, I did this like 7 years ago.
Okay.
And I don't want people to think I'm brave. My mama did it first and I looked just like her, so I knew it was going to work. But I had alopecia really bad.
Okay.
And I was wearing wigs, and as I mentioned, it's a microwave here, so I'm like dying on stage. Jeremy Washington made a Facebook post about, I will no longer be concealing who I really am. And I made an appointment that day that he put that on Facebook, and the next day got my locks cut off and just went to this.
Really? And so in my mind, I'm thinking, or I'm wondering, what would they have said if the bald-headed chick showed up on stage and was like, here I am, tattoos or not? Do you think that was a stigma in the church too? I think it to some point, yeah.
At the time, yeah. So my father being a pastor, I could never have done this if he was still alive.
Okay.
Because he was one of those preachers that a woman's hair is her glory. I said what I said. That's Bible, and that's it. I don't know. That was in 2008 that I started touring with Jay. I don't know that they was ready then.
Yeah, they would.
I don't think you had to be sick.
Yeah. I don't think they was. So you had to be like, no, I'm just not feeling
it.
So, oh, go ahead and do that, girl.
Right.
Cool. But nah, if you're not sick, go ahead and put that wig
Go
right
get
on.
that wig.
Yeah.
Get you some lace locks.
Okay. Yeah. Or do you think that gospel music is blurring the lines with secular music? Like, do they have the same sound, or should they have the same sound because their messages are different?
So I am, it's an unpopular opinion in the church circuit, but I am of the belief that the music needs to sound like whatever's going to attract the people that need to hear it.
Okay.
There are my first time, like, I'm about to sound so outdated, but my first time seeing Mali Music live
Yes.
was a couple weeks ago when he came here for the Stellars. I had never seen him. I don't listen to his music, but I really loved what he did on that stage, because the young people that were behind me, they talking about how they doing that at rehearsal, or they gonna shed that for offering on Sunday or something.
Yeah.
It's about getting the message. I think we need to stop being worried about the delivery vessel and just get the message. We be worried about the wrong thing.
Okay. I can agree with that. Well, when you think about legends who have paved the way for singers like yourself, who do you think of and why? Give me 3.
So number 1 would be Shaka.
Okay.
And that's because Shaka said, I can scream and I'm going to do it. And at the time, well, not only at the time, even right now, like, real short story, when Black women go down to the Strip to go and perform, the sound engineer, before you even make it to the floor, he's put a compressor on, because Black women don't do anything but scream. And if you don't know that, you go in there killing yourself because you can't hear yourself, the house can't hear you, and it's all because you walked your black tail in there and they just knew you was going to holler. Shaka said, I don't care about your mics, your speakers, your compressors, and none of that. Turn me back up, and this is how I sing. It gave me, I have a very big voice. Like, I can't repeatedly sing in small venues or small rooms because it doesn't even sound right. It's just, I have a big mouth. And so that was motivation number 1. And then there was Whitney, because I know how to move, I know how to dance, I have some rhythm, but the fact that she could stand flat foot with her non-dancing self and just stand there and be still and slay, that, like, I've been admiring that since literally I was a small child. And then the last one hardly anybody will agree with, and that is Kim Burrell. You know, I love her. I know she can be a little harsh, but her a little harsh. That is a true understatement.
Yeah,
but
a little harsh.
Just a lot of harsh. She is unashamed about her sound and what it is. She is singing gospel music, but those riffs are jazz and you know, some fusion. Like, she always stays current with her delivery. Those are my 3.
Okay, and those are some powerful. Those are some powerhouses. So what or how would you have felt to be on the stage with all 3 of them?
If I could have gotten all 3, you know, when I woke up, it would have been great. Like, because there would have definitely been a moment, just because I can't even imagine. But I will say that being on, you know, Shaka Khan is this tall. She's
really
this
short.
Tall. And so being on stage with her, it's hard to believe that something that little has so much. So, I mean, the mic be over here, and there were times that it was like, "Ooh, Tymara, stop looking at her because you got a part that you got to sing," and then to still be able to turn around and joke with us, because I'm so glad y'all can't hear what she be saying when she gets out the microphone, because she is a fool's fool, and it's just like getting to know her personality, being on a tour bus with her, and then getting on stage. So I got Shaka in the muumuu, and then I got Shaka in the costume. It was mind-blowing and life-changing. Like, I'll never be the same after that.
That sounds dope. Well, let us know what you have coming up and where we can follow you on social media.
Okay, so what I have coming up, actually, none of it is in Las Vegas.
Okay.
In addition to being a performer, entertainer, recording artist, I also have a corporate choir.
Okay.
That sings all around the country. We lucked up and got a gig at Paris Hilton's Mama House last year.
Okay.
And all of her Hollywood friends were there, and we've been asked for it ever since.
Oh, that's
so
dope.
we're going to be going to Napa. We're going to be going to some $1 billion wedding in Wyoming. We're going to Costa Lego. I just tore that city up. I'm sorry, place in California. But those are all the places that we're going. And I am waiting to be able to release what is happening in Vegas really, really soon.
Okay.
But you can find me on social media. I am the only Tymaraw everywhere.
Okay.
I'm Tymara Sings or Sang Tymara. It's all over the place. But I'm the only one to pop up first name and W, and my big old bald head is in every profile.
So you
picture.
cannot
Can't miss me.
miss you.
Nope.
So my last question before we let you get on the mic and do what you do, how many ways to God do you believe there are?
1.
Okay.
Well, that's what the Bible says.
Okay.
I mean, you can only get to him through his son. That's what I believe. I mean, you know, my father was non-denominational, but that Bible doesn't change from denomination to denomination. I mean, there's obviously different paths that people can take. Some folks have to go through finding I don't want to offend nobody, but I don't know how to be fake. Some people go and find things like mysticism and other things that are dependent upon what we consider to be idols. And then they have to go through that path to meet that Christian that'll tell them, actually, this is what it is. All you have to do is confess with your mouth and believe in your heart. But there's only one way. The million paths to Jesus, but he's the only way.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming out. As we close the show out, please keep in mind we are looking for positive artists who would like to have a live feature performance to end my show every week. I am a lover of all things music, and I really would love to showcase you and give you a platform to do your thing. You can be a Christian artist or a secular artist, but we just need music with some substance and positivity. If you're interested, you can go to our website at www.burriscreates.com. That's our new website, you guys. Or you can go to our email. You can email us at foodforthesoulpresents.com. I'm sorry, foodforthesoulpresents@gmail.com. I'm just messing up all over the place for more information. And you guys could be our next guest. So closing us out is our Spotlight Artist of the Week. And I got to get it right, Tymara, as she sings. And I'm not even sure what you're singing.
I am singing a song called the Fried Chicken Song. I wrote it looking at my husband frying chicken.
Let's do it then, the Fried Chicken Song. Let's go.
I love you like grease, fries, chicken, like my hands need mittens in the snow. As soon as I got you, I swore I'd never let you go. I love you like butter on my toast. You mean the most to me. You put your hand in the small of my back. Ooh, I love knowing that you know I like that. 'Cause I love you from a place that I can't explain. I said I love you like macaroni needs some cheese. You bring me to my knees when you smile. You make me wanna stay and chill for a little while. I love you like frosting on a cake. If I could take a piece of you with me everywhere I go, boy, you know that I would. 'Cause I love you from a place that I can't explain. Said we'll always be together, side by side, sticking through whatever. You're the apple to my pie, my favorite kind of guy. Said we'll always be together, side by side, sticking through whatever. You're the apple to my pie, you're my favorite kind of guy. We'll always be here. Oh, you are. Said we'll always be together. Ooh. explain.
You know I love
Man, can I steal that song and
Sure.
dedicate that to my husband?
You sure can. You should see me sing it live. I include collard greens.
Oh, goodness. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. I love it. Love it. Make sure to tune in every Friday to the I Am Talitha Cumi show at 7:30 p.m. on our FB page and YouTube station, Food for the Soul Media Group or Vegas Hype Media, and tell your people. Catch the Rewind show every Wednesday, same time, 7:30 p.m. on our YouTube station. And don't forget to follow me on all of my social media platforms. I Am Talitha Cumi and Food for the Soul Media Group. Our show tonight has been sponsored in part by Orlay Worldwide, Big Bobby B Beats, MHS Behavioral Services, and Dinisha Mingo, Tymara Music, and Eccentric Soul Films, you guys. We are out of here. I'm headed out to do some karaoke. See you guys soon.